All right, so once again, we're back on Who Wants to Be a Billionaire. And basically, it's anyone who's a free agent in our league. It's Vikings and Matt here taking you through some free agency frenzy so far. Matt, how's the evening going for you?
That's good. I'm enjoying watching Derek Barnett become the eighth highest paid player in the league. I didn't expect, um, I didn't expect defensive ends to go into the 30s, but here we are. So this is unexpected territory even for me, who was pounding the drum of look how expensive the DNs are gonna be, because holy fuck, that's the eighth highest paid player in the league. Eighth. So,
And some
what?
of this just makes me think back to last year, like at the deadline. 49ers, for example, sitting there in Travis Fulham at like 450K. Right now, he's priced at 10 million. Now it's Travis Fulham. So do we think he's going to have the same year next year that he had at the start of the year this year? Probably not. But last year he was $500,000. This free agency, he's $10 million. Where were you guys with a pick and a trade extension last year on some of this stuff? Like this is just it's incredible just from a price point perspective, but it's also hilarious from a why didn't somebody try and get this guy last year?
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Like it's just some of the numbers that are going around here for players is Latavius Murray is getting his yearly $12 million contract. Um, uh, Peterson will get his 9 to 10. Like it's crazy to see, like relative to last year. Like last year, I got memed on for paying so much for Agba, and now in like hindsight, it's just the free agency in this league is just wild. Like I did not expect it to be this weird. Austin Hooper going for 16 million.
Granted,
Like just
that's about what he was with Seahawks last year.
yeah, but it's just like it's just like these aren't guys that are superstars. Like Hooper had what he played. He didn't play the full season. He ended up like 500 yards, some shit like that. So like, whew.
Love Harrison Bryant there going forward. I think Hooper's got maybe a year or two
Yeah,
left, but that's going to be Bryant's show.
things are just wild.
Anyways, so yeah, looking through some of the options so far, you mentioned Barnett at 32 million, who is currently the most expensive player. We'll see if anyone pushes Jameis Winston to challenge him. But you got a couple of $15 million linebackers. Um, Antonio Brown at 15 million, Kerry Hyder at 15 million. The Washington quarterbacks. There are two different quarterbacks for Washington at bid, and combined they're worth 25 million on here. But Fitzmagic is at 15 million, and Heinke is at just over 10 million. So that's split between a couple of people. I'm pretty sure the Miami Dolphins place kicker is now the most expensive kicker out there. Adrian Peterson is at 9.5 million, and are we sure he has a job next year?
He was on the Pat McAfee show and quoted saying that he was negotiating deals with two different teams. So he'll be on a roster somewhere. He probably won't be in the same situation that he was in Detroit, but like he'll be on a roster somewhere. But still, like 10 million for a how old is Adrian Peterson? 32, 33,
Well, I mean, in looking at other expensive
35.
safeties, you got
Jeez.
15 million for Jordan Poyer, almost 12 million for Donovan Wilson. Like, it's remarkable. I'm thinking back to the price points for some of the tags and free agents. So let me go back to message board here to look at what some of the tags were. So if we looked at, for example, um, Daniel Sorensen, who had a salary of $10 million versus Jordan Poyer, who is asking another five. So yes, you would have had to give a pick to get Daniel Sorensen. So maybe that's not a great example. But okay, let's go to Harrison Smith. I got him for I think it was what 317 or something like that.
Hmm.
Call it that because I don't remember. Would you rather pay Harrison Smith $9 million and give up a third, or pay Jordan Poyer $16 million? Like, this was the point around tags, guys, and free agency. It's,
Yeah.
yes, nobody likes giving up picks, especially this time of year. But if you don't get these tag guys, you pay for this.
Yeah, it's just like this is what you run into. Like you should be using your tags like all three of your tags every year. Even if like I'm looking back now and regretting not tagging like Golston instead of like one of my kicker or my punter. Just because like there's no way I'll be able to afford Golston now if like Hyder is going for 15, which is probably low. That'll get bid up once Barnett's off the board. But like 32 million for a D end is just absolutely wild to me. And like I know I'm gonna keep saying that all night, but it's just because I am literally that shocked by it that it is like he's the one DN that's currently being bet on between like him and Hyder that has a team, but like good God.
And who would you prefer between Alden Smith um, and Derek Barnett?
Alden Smith.
And Alden Smith only got up to 15 million on plus a third round pick to potentially
Yeah,
move. So
yeah,
again,
it's
you're going to mention, I can't believe these guys are this expensive. We've mentioned that there's going to be way too much money available this year. But
mhm.
guys, this is what we were saying around the tags. Like, yes, Alden Smith at 15 million looks insane at that point. But when you think of what that's going to be once free agency rolls around, again, Derek Barnett's going to be a $35 million player. He's a third round pick worth, $20 million.
Yeah, easy. I'd much rather give up a third than pay another 20 million for a D end that's worse.
Yep. All right. But anyway, free agency is in full swing. We've had, I think, 29 nominations so far. I think there's only 3 teams that have not nominated yet. And of course, we need to make sure we call the requisite attention to the Bills, the Jaguars, and the Chiefs here. Matt, what do you have to say for your division mate who has not nominated somebody so far?
It's very different from like what the Chiefs have done for the entirety of their existence in this league across multiple owners is like be active and aggressive in free agency because that's how they build their teams out. And so like Raiders is out here making moves to challenge me for the division. Broncos is doing whatever the fuck Bill's doing. The man's he's got an idea in his head of what he's doing. I may not understand it, you may not understand it, but he's doing things. But like you gotta get into the fray sometime, man. You gotta step in here. You gotta do your job. Just do your job.
Thank you, Mr. Belichick. And of course, everyone's spending money like Belichick right now. Eric making a good point in chat. Everyone has $80 million, so it's going to be bonkers. Yeah. So again, next year it's going to be a flat cap. So everyone's spending like crazy this year. So is everyone getting a 1 year deal? I guess looking at what we have on the free agent block right now, there's not a lot of these players I see getting more than a 1 year deal here.
Yeah.
No one really impresses me as that long term asset you want to build around. And at this price point, everyone's probably one and done. Hold your cap for next year, and then build from there.
Hey man, Texans might slap a long ass deal onto his $5 million kicker. That's gonna give him a little under 3 points a game, better than the 20th best kicker in the league. You gotta pay for those margins, man.
It's true. It's true. And that's why I franchised my kicker. I do
Yeah.
love my Young Ho, and
Hey man, my franchised punter got me a side grade upgrade, however you want to look at it, between Tanyan and Gasecki.
the
They
side
have.
grade upgrade. I
It
never heard the
depends on
term.
how you want to look at it. I mean, I think it's a swap, like flat, but some others may view Gasecki better because he's more of a wide receiver. Some may like Tanya more because he's in Green Bay. not here to tell people what to think on that. Just showing that they got value. They got trade value. Like, that trade doesn't get done unless I send my franchise punter over to Bill.
That's true. And again, it's interesting with Tanyan getting that second round tender from Green Bay. I'm curious whether somebody comes and gets that, because that's right on the cusp of I'm okay paying that to absolutely not.
Yeah, especially with Sanu. Oh, not Sanu. Fucking Sanu. Jonnu and Henry both getting snatched up by the Patriots. Like, that's gonna that greatly grapples the tight end market in the league. But I don't know if, like, it's gonna take a ballsy GM and a coach to think, like, you know what, we can get the same tight end production and more out of Tanyan than out of one of these tight ends, because the rookie tight ends are going to be there in the second outside of probably Fairmouth and Pitts. So, like,
yeah, no, I mean, it's a question of, and frankly, I think probably both Jordan and Fairmouth are going to be there if you're talking about a second round tender. So, do you rather develop the rookie tight end, or do you go get the tight end who showed out with Rodgers last year?
Yep.
I think it completely depends on the situation. If I'm, say, Buffalo, why don't I try and go get Tanyan?
Yep.
Like, Dawson Knox has been solid, but
But you had a high end tight end touchdown machine to that Bills offense. Like, that's really the one thing they're missing right now in the red zone, is like, none of the guys they have right now are big, throw it up, they'll come down with it type receivers. Like, Gabe Davis has the physical body for it, but that's just not his play style. For, like, he's not going to do that in the end zone. They just don't have that. So, like, if you're the Bills and you go out and get Tanyan, like,
right.
well, there's not a whole lot of AFC teams that have a better offensive grouping between Diggs, Davis, Emmanuel Sanders, Tanyan, and Josh Allen.
Right. And again, it's a question of the contract you're probably going to have to pay Tanyan to get him. I'll call it equivalent to what Ertz is making right now, just because, that's an easy way to do the comparison. So would I rather pay a second and pay Tanyan Ertz money? Would I rather trade a day 3 pick and get Ertz and pay the rest of his contract?
Yep.
So again, it's a fair question for any team, and I think Ertz rumors right now are that he liked a comment that the Bills had made. So he could be going that direction with Emmanuel Sanders. So this could be a moot point in 12 hours.
It's really interesting to see, like, how many of the, not necessarily like top free agents, but the, like, coveted free agents, like the Bills now. Like, in 2017, people are going to laugh because he's a fullback, but, like, Kyle Juszczyk, he was offered more money by the Bills and wanted to go to Buffalo instead of San Francisco, until his wife was like, please, dear God, let's not go to fucking Buffalo for 4 years.
But why?
Because San Francisco and the coast is just better. But it's just like all these guys coming in that are, like, showing interest and wanting to play in Buffalo of all places now. It's like they've turned into a team where, like, players want to go play there because they're good. Josh Allen is good. The coaching staff is. I haven't seen anything out of the Buffalo players that is speaking anything other than shining about that coaching staff. And just, like, all the fans, like, you have the Bills Mafia. Like, I legitimately, as a diehard 49ers fan, think the Bills Mafia is the best fan base in football.
I don't think
that's
not
particularly close.
I truly don't think that's debatable. I think
no.
I mean, the 12th man was, probably holding the belt for a while, but I think clearly the Bills Mafia has taken that at this point. So literally, you have the best fans who are absolutely out of their damn mind. You have a good young quarterback. You have good pieces in place and a strong defense. Like, if you're going to be the missing piece, it's a great place to go.
And it's like there's other fan bases that are out of their minds. Like, you have the Raiders fans that'll, like, they'll stab somebody over talking shit over the Raiders.
Right.
But, like, the Bills fans will literally just jump through tables. And if that's not the singular best show of gratitude and affection and adoration of a football team, I don't know what it is. I don't know what is. Like, it's
I agree. So let's see. What else in terms of the bids so far? Antonio Brown's another fun one. So after 1 year in Godwin getting franchised, he's still getting $15 million. So I guess everyone's just kind of expecting him to put up probably in this league wide receiver 2 numbers again.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I want to take a slight detour just for a second here to yell at Bills. Fucking nom. You don't get to not nom. That's not an option.
Speaking of people here to yell at Bills, Broncos, I think you have something to say about this.
What's up?
So we're talking about why Bills should actually nom. Your name is Bill, so you should probably be extra pissed off at Bills for making the name of Bill go bad.
No, he absolutely should not. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, put any name up. Just any name.
I mean, and that's the point. Like, I get what he's trying to do. I think I know exactly who he's trying to preserve.
Yeah.
It's like the one big player who signed a big contract today that has not been nominated yet. So the idea is let's get more than 14 to maybe 16 or 20% of the free agent funds out of here before that player hits the board. That player's going to hit the board. Teams are going to have money left. You're not going to be able to afford him. And you already have a player pretty well established at a reasonable price at that position. Yeah. Just
nom somebody. I don't want Emmanuel Sanders or Latavius Murray or whoever the fuck I nommed. Like, I legitimately don't remember who I nommed because I don't want them.
Yeah.
But I knew somebody would, so I put them up. Like, that's an aspect of these auctions you can do. Like, if you have a player that you want, you can wait to nom them. If somebody else noms them, oh fucking well. But like, just nominate somebody. It doesn't need to be somebody you want to bid on. Nominate them. Put your proxy bid at $450,000 and just let them get bid up by somebody else.
That's what I did with Carlos Hyde. I had no intention of winning Carlos Hyde, but I was happy to throw him out there.
Right.
And he's going for how much right now?
Like 10.
$9 million.
Yeah, like just nominate somebody you think is going to go for a high amount of money to take that money out of the pool so you have less to fight with when you nominate your player. Your player gets nominated next round. Like it's simple.
Or if you have a player from your team who is literally going to get you a comp pick back, nominate that guy. Mm-hmm. Make sure the guy gets bought from somebody so you get your comp pick back.
Oh, I want to fucking strangle him right now.
It's Eric's
also,
got a strong
Chris, I hope you get better if you're watching this.
He competes well in the New York League, so I will say, if he's got something in mind, he's got a path in mind that makes good sense to him. I don't know if it, is the right path, but it's a path that makes sense for him to follow.
If that path includes not nomming, it's the wrong path. I don't give a fuck what else is happening.
Like what path can there be that you have to avoid nominating anybody?
I don't know. Like I said, that's why I don't know what's the right path. But like I said, he's going to have a view on this. And if Jeremy says it's his right to not nominate, like you just said, then it's literally just peer pressure and public scrutiny that says, dude, get on the board here. Come on. And if he wants to ignore that, then he can ignore that. Completely his prerogative.
Like scroll down. Nominate a fucking place game.
Yeah. It just fucks with the league. Like, I know we're in no rush because like we're so far away from the season, but like we've been waiting for this for however long, and we're missing 3 teams, and one of them is just like adamantly like not doing it. It doesn't. I mean, cool. Do what you want, I guess, especially because there's no penalty to do anything. But like, you're fucking with everybody else, man. Like, we're all trying to have fun and do our thing and whatever, but I don't know. I don't like that.
I know that as soon as the commissioners open up the submitting of ideas for future additions to the bylaws, I will be submitting something along the lines of penalty for not nominating within 12 hours or whatever.
At least on the first day.
Yeah, like if you can't nominate within 12 hours outside of like the normal overnight shutoff clock in season for waivers shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there's other extenuating circumstances that probably people would communicate with the commissions on, but again, realistically, you should be able to nominate. You should be able to, if you want to, bid on players. So, again, I think it's worth a conversation, especially after the cycle's done, to see what we can do to increase activity. I think this is a pretty active league as it is, but never a bad thing to kind of spur that forward. Taking a look through the rest of the names here, anyone else that you're surprised about being so expensive?
Have we already mentioned Derek Barnett?
Yes.
Yes, but you're welcome to also mention it again.
Okay. I am just amazed that it got so high. I know that Chris has so much money to spend, but it's just amazing.
I mean, like, I guess it makes sense in context of like how much money is available.
Right.
And, like, he was a first round pick, and like he's only 24 or whatever.
Mhm.
So like it makes sense that like if he's the cream of the crop of the DNs that are available, he's gonna go for a shit ton.
Right.
But like, holy fuck.
And that's the other thing is, and this is it's what drives me nuts about our league. It's the teams that have money aren't the teams who are competing for the most part. The teams that don't have money are the teams who would want to be signing these guys to the overpriced contracts. So again, a Derek Barnett at $35 million is something that you put if he's the last player on your team. So if I'm the Colts, I can't trade that contract.
No.
I can't. Like nobody's going to have the cap space to take that contract on. So it's do I buy myself into a team? I don't think you can buy yourself into a team right now for the prices on players. So it's one of those where it's like, do I buy myself into the middle class and maybe push for a playoff team? Again, if you really have no faith that the Texans are going to hold on in that division, sure, that might be a path, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I know I went into this knowing I needed running backs and wide receivers. And like obviously there's no running backs, but the primary ones are pretty much on the board already. And I'm just like, I can't bring myself to spend $13 million on Latavius Murray. Adrian Peterson, I could probably do 12 on, but I don't know where he's going to play. Like I'm stuck in this weird position because of what I did to myself. But I don't know. It's just a weird first day on the board for prices for sure. And this is just my first year in it, and I think it's weird.
I think it'll be interesting to see when things level out, because this is kind of like this is in the point of the league's life cycle where we're in between those first guys that were picked in like that first rookie draft. They're coming onto their 5th-year options. The guys that got picked up in the first couple free agencies are coming to the ends of their contracts. The guys that got picked up in the startup draft are coming to the ends of their contracts if they're still on them.
Yeah.
So like this is like, I think this year and next year are going to be penultimately bad free agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like the majority of this free agency class probably gets recycled back into next year, because there's no fucking way Derek Barnett gets a multiple year deal at $32 million. Like if Colts does that, I mean, like, power to you, my guy. I just, holy fuck. Like if he gets extended, if he gets more than 1 year, I'm just slamming extensions onto my DNs, because like I don't ever want to pay that much for a defensive end ever in this in this free agency, and I'll just pay whoever the fuck I have a defensive end the 16, 17, whatever million, because that's apparently just going to be cheaper.
The only way you do that, the only way you give multiple years to them, is if you're looking at this and saying, okay, I'm paying Derek Barnett $35 million a year, that I can pay him that. And then he's literally my renegotiation. There is no conversation. He's my renegotiation. And I think he has enough tread out that if I add 2 or 3 years to it, I'm paying him Ogba prices, as you put it, Matt.
No, he would still be the highest paid defensive end in the league. Even if you renegotiated and it went down exactly half, he'd still be the highest paid defensive end in the league.
At $16 million?
Yep, I have the previously highest paid defensive end at Jason Pierre-Paul at $15,776,775. So even at exactly half of his current contract, he'd still be the highest paid defensive end.
Fair enough.
Like Yeah, like go for it if that's your plan, but like I guess it makes sense if like it's better than paying 30 million for a D end in free agency, but at the end of the day, you're still paying Darren Barnett the highest paid defensive end contract in the league, which is painful.
Expecting that the prices aren't going to go up any further.
Yeah.
Like you said, Matt, we're going to hit at kind of a point of inflection next year, which is going to be. I overuse the word interesting. I know that, but let's look at what's going to happen next year. You're going to have a lot of players coming off of contracts that they got at the startup. The first round of fifth-year options are going to kick in. You're going to have a flat cap. You're going to have all the stuff from this year. I don't know. I want to say we're going to see a really weird free agent class next year, in which case there's going to be a lot of people in the free agent class that we're not expecting. And people who have money are going to want to have that money. So, like you guys said, I think it's a lot of first-year deals this year. But I think there is a potential for a one-year deal and then renegotiating some of these guys who are overly expensive if it makes sense. Like, does it make sense to give Jameis, say a 2-year contract? If he gets that job in New Orleans, you renegotiate him, and then you've got the New Orleans quarterback for $15 million.
I think the QBs are easy slam multiple year contracts.
Yeah.
Just because QB is so valuable.
Yeah. I mean, the only one I wouldn't do is Fitz, but that's just because of his age.
Mm-hmm. And even like Kerry Hyder for Packers, if he goes through at 15 million, that's an easy 2-year.
Mm-hmm.
Just because like you renegotiate him down, and even if he's not a flat 50 cut, like he's still going to be somewhat in line with defensive end prices. Like it doesn't get insane like Barnett's does.
Yeah, in the chat, Colts is saying he'll explain himself in 3 hours. Colts, you don't have to hide a secret, man. Nobody's coming for that contract.
No, I mean this is exactly what he's planning to do, and again, it makes perfect sense for him to do, and he has the cap space to do that, and he's going to free up $16 million for next year for other stuff. So if he pays his full amount this year, drops the 16 there, almost that immediately pays for any kind of inflation for the rest of his team from this year to next year. So I understand it. It makes perfect sense. It's just a matter of, is Derek Barnett that player that you want to build around? Let's see. What is his? How old is Derek Barnett? I think he's in his
24.
late 20s, right?
He's 24.
24?
He'll turn 25 in this June.
In the summer.
Okay. So, and again, that's not a bad piece to build from.
But is it building at that price point?
Yeah, I think so. Like it's even if he goes down to 16 million, like I bought Ogba last year in a probably better defensive end class, and he was the highest paid D end at 14 million. So like 2 million more for Barnett isn't like that insane. I mean, it sucks that you're paying Barnett top end DN money, but like if I end up extending Pierre-Paul and Watt, Pierre-Paul, and I tag Ogba, like those will be contracts that go up above that 16 million, and you're paying it for a guy who will be 25, 26, 27, like in the quote prime of his career. It'll suck because he's on a shitty Eagles team, but he'll get a hell of a lot of defensive snaps.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was a free agent this year.
Barnett?
Yeah, isn't
next year?
He's going in the 5th year. Isn't he a free agent? Isn't he getting?
I'll tell you in a second.
I think it was a first-round pick for the Eagles, so I think this is his.
This is his 5th-year option.
Okay.
Yep. He's on the Eagles still.
Okay.
So like, yeah, he could hypothetically go somewhere better if he balls out this year, because the Eagles aren't exactly in a situation where they have a ton of cap space. I don't know what their future cap space looks like, but I know they're one of those teams that's like, wow, you're bad, but you're somehow like 30 million over the cap. What the fuck's wrong with you?
So looking through the players on the board right now, there's really nobody I see that's going to go much higher than I think they're currently at. I think we've probably capped out most all of the bids on here. Is there anyone that you see price-wise that you'd say, that's probably not enforced far enough?
I mean, I'm never one to do price enforcing by any stretch. But I think that it's interesting that that Fitz is not owned by the same team that owns Heineke right now. I'm pretty certain that we're looking at Fitz being a gap quarterback. I don't think he's going to start the entire year. And if they don't draft somebody, they're obviously trying to get Heineke more prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably try to own both of them if I was trying to own one of them.
I think the thing there is the two teams that are bidding on him, like Giants and Saints, respectively, Heineke and Fitz, they both already have quarterbacks.
They do.
Like so Giants has Tua, so like you assume he's going at Heineke thinking, okay, if Tua doesn't pan out and Heineke turns into a starter, I can keep him.
Mm-hmm.
But Saints has Carr, so like he's just going for value there from Fitz. But then why spend $15 million on a second quarterback when you have a guy that doesn't look like he's even remotely close to losing his job?
Yeah. I mean, Saints has 3 quarterbacks right now, so literally he has to drop somebody if he gets Fitz again. James McDonald is not going to get kept if he wins Fitz, or maybe even Cole. Again, these are not necessarily hard decisions, but I didn't think you were able to bid on some of these guys if you didn't have a spot to put them on your roster. So
yeah, I'm curious about that. What is the rule if they end up winning them and they own 4?
Time to look at the bylaws.
Is there a bylaw about that?
There's pretty much a bylaw about everything, yeah.
It reminds me back when I started playing, Dynasty. It was literally, I looked at a set of bylaws. We had like a 5-page set of bylaws, and it was like, oh my God, we have so much stuff in here. And then I started playing in leagues like this. It's like, yeah, no, it's like, okay, thank you, my sweet little summer child.
No, go ahead.
There is not a rule against it. Section 15, off-season free agent public bidding process. Section F, subsection 1. Section F is teams must meet 2 basic requirements to place a free agent on the auction board or to bid on a free agent. Section 1 is have the salary cap space to meet the minimum salary of $450,000 or the bid amount being placed. 2, have the contract years to add a player. I'm not seeing anything on here about going over positional.
Well,
limits.
Am I wrong? Was Cole McDonald and weren't both of them on his taxi squad last year?
Yep.
Can't he put him back down?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's probably just what he's going to do. If he pays attention.
Yeah. No, so again, it's one of those where I had thought that we had to have the position available on your roster, that you weren't going to break position limits to acquire the player. So I'm wrong a lot. So I'm happy to be wrong on this one too. Okay. Let's see. Colts are saying that Fursker could be bid up further.
For what?
Yeah, I guess he's heading to the starting tight end in Tennessee now.
For now. I mean, I get it. It's a risk reward kind of thing. He could probably hit 10 and be totally fine, but that's also dependent on what Tennessee does. They've got to bring in somebody. All they have is AJ.
Well, I think they're gonna go receiver in the first round. I think that's gonna be
what's their cap space right now situated? Do they have like solid space, or are they strapped?
Let's see. Spot track.
Yep, let's see if that is up to date. Team salary caps. The Tennessee Titans, as of this current showing, have $23 million in space. I don't know if that includes their most recent signings, though.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing Bud Dupree.
Well, that's half of that then.
Yeah, I don't think this is up to date.
Okay. Because I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, what a like sneaky landing spot for a guy like Juju. Where I wasn't aware of like their cap situation.
So I'm looking at open cap space. Jets signing Davis, I think, takes him out of that conversation. Pats spending like they're drunk.
Colts, but they don't like spending money for whatever reason.
I think they're just holding off. I would rather see them go Fuller than Juju.
I mean, they hold off every year though. Like they've been Mr. Team that's building a championship roster that has so much cap space for how many years now? Then they kind of just don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
The team I've kind of thought would be where Juju ends up all along is Miami. They need that number one. It doesn't make sense to take that number one in that first round. Clearly, everyone is kind of holding off on signing the Fuller, that top tier of wide receiver free agents right now, because they're going to be asking more than what Corey Davis got. I mean, that's
I think they're just waiting
what I'd
for
be asking for.
I think that they're waiting for Galladay. Galladay came out already and he said that he's going to take his time with this, and he's obviously the number one option. They're just waiting to see how much New York gives him.
Yeah. So again, I don't think Galladay goes to Miami. I don't think that's the right fit for him. I think Tua's a see it before I throw it, and I'd rather have a guy like Juju than I would Galladay, because Galladay's to kind of go up and get it. So I think like maybe a Jets or maybe a Colts makes more sense for Galladay, and then that's going to drive, like you said, a Fuller price, a Juju price, those kind of guys.
Yeah.
But
let's see here.
I mean, not to blow up any spots here, but all right, we've got 29 players nominated. We're going to have a second round here going. Who hasn't been nominated yet that you're thinking is absolutely going to be in this next round?
This is the fun part where you have to look back and forth between the
Yeah,
two.
exactly.
Tyrell Adams for sure. Like just all these top guys more than likely. Adams. I don't know if Singleton's nominated yet. He is. I will say there have been some interesting nominations of guys trying to sneak in dudes early.
Yeah. But
what do you think?
I mean, I'm trying to look at this list here of just names.
Bostic, for sure.
I'm thinking it's going to be a big corner run the next time through.
I think we're going to see Barry Fitz go up.
So we're seeing Tre'Davious, Mullen, Hilton, Davis, Jackson, Mitchell. You've got a pretty large glut of corners that are going to be available. I think it's a question of kind of people seeing that big, I think by the end of it, we're going to see maybe 18% of the cap being spent on this first wave. So people kind of saying, okay, let's bid on somebody a little bit lower price to help balance things out here. So we're going to see a couple corners get bid to see if people can burn some more cap space or, just make the buy at this point. Because seeing a corner go for $6 million right now. Taron Johnson, of course, I think is the sixth highest point scorer in terms of available free agents, so I get it. But at the same time, they're corners. These are diamond and cut players.
Yeah. I think we'll see Andy Dalton go on the board now that he's the starter in Chicago.
So has anyone from Chicago actually come out and said that, or is that just speculation from Twitter
it's speculation based off of it's him or Foles, and it's speculation based off the fact that they benched Foles for Trubisky and they're just letting Trubisky walk.
Yeah.
So it's a question of maybe quarterback is still in play for the Bears, but they're not feeling it's important enough to trade up for. Or if they do, they're, helping to keep the price down.
I think their whole idea is that they want to have guys there if they miss out on Wilson, which it seems like the Seahawks are just refusing to move him, and Watson.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the Seahawks aren't going to move Wilson within the NFC. It's going to have to go to the AFC.
I think Wilson's staying entirely. And I
don't know.
I think that Houston's going to fuck themselves over and not deal Watson either.
So
I definitely see
I was trying to think about if I'm the Jets, if I can't give my first this year, my first who's first later next year? The Seahawks first next year, and maybe one more pick, and Sam Darnold and get Deshaun Watson. Do I offer that same package to Seattle for Wilson?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
But I don't think Seattle will move Wilson, but I think Wilson will get progressively more aggressive about wanting to be moved.
Yeah.
because like I like the sources that I've like seen and read and like the people that have commented on the situation, none of them are like taking a hard stance of like I have information saying that Wilson and Pete Carroll hate each other, but like a lot of people are commenting on the situation there and being like they have to hate each other, right? Like this has to just be like they just do not get along, and Wilson is fed up and like just pissed off and wants out. To the point where like I honestly think the Wilson situation gets messier than the Watson situation just because Watson said his piece.
Yeah.
He wants out. His agent is saying like this is where I want to go. There's a report out now that it's between the Broncos and the Niners that he wants to go to, which to me reads as like they gave like Watson's agent gave the Texans the first grouping of teams that he wanted to go to. They were like, hey, these teams have early draft picks and they have the talent and shit to get Watson, just go talk to them. Watson would be fine with that. And now it's like, oh, you don't want to trade with them? Well, here's these other teams he wants to go to instead. So now go talk to them. And Wilson, I think it's just going to be like Wilson gave his piece and is being quiet now and is going to get progressively more pissed off and angry. Yeah. And it's just going to blow up on Seattle. I don't have really anything to substantiate that stance other than smarter people than me saying like there has to be something bigger going on here. But
I think with Wilson, it's going to be weird to say this. I think that Wilson is overrated. I think that he's not necessarily like elite, like he thinks he is. They finally gave him the reins and let him throw as much as he wanted to, and he did fine for the first half. And then he tanked the bed. He shit himself all year at the end of the year. And now it's Carroll being like, that'll never happen again, ever. We're never doing that ever again. And now Wilson's pissed because he's never going to be able to throw the ball 40 times a game.
I'm a 49ers fan. Matt's a 49ers fan.
Yeah.
The quarterback play in the NFC West has gotten markedly better.
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
There is nobody who haunts my dreams the way that Russell Wilson haunts my dreams.
I'm not saying he's not.
There is a singular QB in this league I am more afraid of than Russell Wilson. It's Patrick Mahomes. And Russell Wilson is a fucking leprechaun. And if he had half of a competent offensive line and was able to have like some competent play calling on offense, like he wouldn't be taking the 40 whatever the fucking sacks because he's trying to make magic out of every play. He's Rodgers from 2 years ago or whenever it was that people were like, Aaron Rodgers is on the decline because he was taking sacks, he was missing receivers. But it wasn't necessarily Rodgers that was the issue. It was the play calling, and it was the offensive line. And then they went out and invested in the play calling with a new head coach, and they invested in the offensive line. And now Aaron Rodgers is coming off of an MVP year. And, like...
Well, again, last year may be literally the worst draft in any GM history for the Packers. I know I said earlier I would stop talking about it. I made jokes about it earlier about the first couple of picks that the Packers made last year. But investing, but at the same time, re-signing Aaron Jones and letting Corey Linsley walk is not exactly investing in the offensive line, especially when you spend a second-round pick on a replacement lead back. Again, Jones and Dillon aren't the same players, but you can pick the guy in the top 70 to play running back. That should be the guy going forward for you.
Yeah, you don't have to get in an argument with me about how shit the Packers drafts have been. They've made like 4 good draft picks in the past 3 years.
Right. So, look, and that's kind of my thought is if I'm Robert Saleh and I'm trying to build a winner in New York and I've got an overabundance of draft capital, if I can trade the 2, Sam Darnold, and the first that I have from the Seahawks last year back to them to get Russell Wilson, like I break my legs running to the phone to accept that.
Shit, I would trade 2, their first next year, my first next year, Sam Darnold, and probably my second next year and a third this year if I can.
I'd give up all 3 first. I wouldn't even hold back 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, yeah. So whatever you're offering for Watson, you offer for Wilson.
I mean, if you really feel like you're there, you go in.
You don't even have to feel like you're there, I think. Just because with
Wilson, you do because of the age. if it's Watson, you have a little bit more time, but like Wilson needs to like he's got 7 years on the guy.
But that's the thing. It's you invested in that offensive line last year, and it usually takes about 12 games for a rookie offensive lineman to fully get it. So he actually has an offensive line in place. He has Davis, and I really like Davis pairing up with Mims and Crowder there. I think that's going to be a better receiving core than people are giving it credit for. I think Herndon maybe just took an extra year longer than everyone wanted him to. So you just super invest in the defense. And Russell fucking Wilson in the Shanahan scheme? Like, come on. Like, seriously, fucking come on.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about running back because LaFleur will find you some undrafted free agent running back because the Shanahan offense doesn't require actual talent to be good at running back. It's just like, well, some talent, but not like you don't need like a Zeke or anything like that. You just need a guy that runs fast and can hit holes. And it's just like Russell Wilson there, he's only 32, and we're seeing QBs play later and later now. Mm-hmm. I think Wilson is easily smart enough and takes care of his body enough to play until his late 30s. Like, yeah, he's not as young as Watson, but he's not like – you're not trading for Aaron Rodgers, who's near 40.
No.
Right.
So, again, I think that's kind of something I was thinking about, and I'm glad to hear you guys on the same page there. A little bit of comment in the chat. So Juju, number one, I think people agree with that. I think he probably fits best as a number two, even if he's paid less than that number one. Green Bay is still $3 million over the salary cap, so I don't think they can get him, although they would have to do some renegotiation to make that work.
Cap's fake, but
they have to rework Rodgers' contract. That's all they have to do.
I don't know if they will.
I don't think he'll let them.
Yeah.
I mean,
if I'm him, you took it instead of getting me a receiver, instead of going and getting Jeremy Lamb instead of getting CeeDee Lamb for me, you fucking traded up to take Jordan Love.
Right.
I would absolutely
take my center. It's crazy, man. Like I don't know what it is that they don't like about Rodgers up there.
They could have taken the pick that they used on Jordan Love, on AJ Dillon, and on Jordan DeGuara, three guys who are being delegated to backup roles right now, and traded up and gotten CeeDee fucking Lamb. And if you put CeeDee Lamb next to Devontae Adams, I'm pretty sure Jeremy's going to need new pants.
Shit, you don't even need CeeDee Lamb. You just need any of those top wide receivers outside Ruggs.
Yeah, they could have got Jefferson.
Yes, but after all of the shit talking I've done on the GM of the Packers, I feel like I need to give a little love towards Jeremy right now. Help him feel a little bit better about the whole situation.
I mean, I would love to know what Jeremy thinks about re-signing Aaron Jones and letting Lindsley walk. Like, that seems like such a bad trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, if you're Rodgers and Jeremy, you probably want to turn off the pod for the next 5 minutes while I talk about this. If you're Rodgers and you look at what this team has done in the past 2 years, like, you're happy because you've gone 13-3. No, you haven't frowned enough. That's why I'm telling you to turn off the pod, friend. Like, you've done the best you can in the regular season, and then you hit teams that beat you on, like, just better roster building, basically. Like, if you're Rodgers and you see the teams that are looking for quarterbacks, and your team just took Jordan Love last year,
mm-hmm.
Like, at what point do you just say, fuck you, trade me to one of these teams?
Not this year.
I haven't looked at the contract. I guess I can do that right now. Rookie contracts are basically entirely guaranteed, right?
No. You can still get cut and lose it, but nobody ever does.
I think the first 2 years are basically fully guaranteed, and then 3 and 4 are partially.
Yeah. The only one that I know that's fully guaranteed is Saquon's.
So let's see.
Yeah, I guess you can negotiate.
Negotiate it.
Because that's instead of the old shenanigans of, like, the trap contracts with like older Bosa, you've got the newer ones that are more restrictive, but they allow you to negotiate the guaranteed portions more.
Again, I'd love to see, and it won't happen, but if they took some of these guys who are now blocked and say somebody like Carolina feels they've got good value for this. Like, could Green Bay take Love, Dillon, DeGuara, their first this year and their first next year, and move up to 8?
No way.
Nope.
The only team I could see reasonably doing that would be Atlanta after they renegotiated Ryan, trading back for a haul of players. But like, I don't think Love and Dillon and Aguera or whatever the fuck his name is, and like even their first this year, I don't think that gets that done.
Yeah, there's no reason to do that though. Like,
all right, so you get a bunch of backup guys. That's fine.
Yeah,
I mean that's just like the bed they've sowed.
Yeah.
Is anyone shocked that I'm looking for trades for teams that probably shouldn't be making them?
I'm surprised you're not hopping on my idea of Rodgers wanting a trade. He can't get traded this year because it's a $32 million dead cap, and the Packers would actively be shooting themselves in the head. But like, what do you do if Aaron Rodgers demands a trade from you as the Packers? Like, that fucking nukes everything. Because Rodgers isn't going to quietly go to the front office and say, I am requesting a trade. It is Rodgers would make a statement to the public saying, I want out.
Yeah, but I look at it this way. Like, normally, like, yeah, you do what you're doing in Seattle and Houston. You're trying to work that shit out. At this point, it's already fractured. If he's going to go public with a trade demand, you just tell him to shut the fuck up and play football. Yep. And just fracture it completely, get through the year and call it quits.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, they could potentially cut him for a $17 million cap hit next year, but
they're not going to cut him. They're going to trade him.
It becomes a whole mess of what do the cheeseheads do?
Yeah.
Like, we know Jeremy's a very soft-spoken, nice man that isn't going to get angry at Rodgers or the Packers front office. But what are all those fucking angry, drunken cheeseheads in Wisconsin going to do if one of those comes out and says, like, fuck you to the other one? Like, do they side with Rodgers, who they probably don't, I think, because he's only brought them one Super Bowl? So, like...
I mean, what did they do? It's same thing with Favre, though, right? Like,
yeah.
Whatever they felt about Favre, they probably feel the same way about Rodgers now.
Yep.
I guess it's just a matter of how many straight rounds can they take a wide receiver this year before it goes out of style for them. Obviously, they probably need to hit the offensive line because of the loss in Lindsley at some point. But if they say took Waddle in the first, Bateman in the second, who in the third? Seth Williams in the third.
Jamon Osborne in the fourth.
Jamon Osborne, or like as Collins in the fourth. Like, how many straight rounds? Like, literally, if you're Green Bay, if you took 7 straight rounds of wide receiver, I don't think anybody's going to get upset with you.
People that actually understand football probably would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But like, I think realistically, like, wide receiver 1, 2, and then center in the third is like, unless a great center prospect falls to them at their second, like, I don't see why they wouldn't take 2 wide receivers. Because that, like, the issue you ran into against Tampa Bay was like you couldn't really stop them, but you also ran into the issue of like you couldn't beat their defense well enough. So like, it's the Packers are a great team, but a lot of that greatness is in the fact that Aaron Rodgers is one of the best QBs in the world.
Yeah.
And so like, if your defense isn't keeping up, which it's not with the other teams in the NFC, and your offense is Rodgers and praying that he can hit one of your dog shit receivers that isn't named Adams, and that your offensive line can bully enough space open for your running backs to get 16 touchdowns, like, you're in a tough spot. It's one of those weird situations where it really is like you have such a great QB, but you don't have the team fully around them to like substantiate being as good as you are.
No, that's fair. All right. We've been talking for almost an hour here. Should we start going through? I think, is the NFC North the only division we haven't touched yet?
I do want to hit a couple guys that I didn't realize were on the auction already that I think could probably go up some more. I don't think Conklin can go up a whole bunch more, but I do think $4 million is a little low for him. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's like some great tight end, but like, he's still in Minnesota. Irv Smith isn't going to do everything, and we already saw them kind of split snaps and receptions between Irv and Rudolph to an extent. So like, if you don't think that Minnesota is going to take another pass catching tight end, like it's not out of the realm of possibility that they use Conklin more to receive some touches. And then like you've got Bostic waiting to be nommed, but Josh Harvey Clemens is up now and he's only at $6 million, and he's in that, like, unless they take a top end linebacker, which I don't think they will, just based off of their draft position, like it's him or Kaliki that's playing that second linebacker spot. And they're probably going to rotate because neither of them's like super world beating. So like you're looking at a guy that could be seeing 60% of a linebacking starting percentage there for only $6 million.
And considering the way that line is, like that's probably going to see 6 or 7 sacks.
Yeah. Like that's a guy that can line up inside or outside at linebacker. So like he could be rushing the QB some plays and Kaliki could still be in, or he could be lining up as a normal middle linebacker.
I mean, it's interesting because like this is my first free agent auction in the league, and I find it interesting that there is so much disparity between Alex Singleton and Josh, with them both being questionable as far as what their roles are going to be going forward, and one's double the other one, and I don't understand that.
Yeah,
is that normal for this league to happen whenever it comes to questionable situations?
A lot of it is, if you look at Singleton, he produced last year.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Harvey Clemens did not.
Well, he sat out due to COVID.
Yeah, but like not everybody's going to take that into account. We'd love to have 32 owners in this league that know every player on every roster and understand every situation that they've been in, but we don't.
Absolutely don't.
I don't think that's reasonably possible. I don't know every player on every roster.
Right.
And it's the only reason I know of the situations that I do is because when I see a player pop up in an auction, I Google their name and do 35 minutes to an hour worth of just research on like, okay, where were you? What were you doing? Why did you not get snaps? Why are you playing? Why are you not playing? Why are your stats this? Why are they that? What's your stance in the depth chart? What does your team look like to possibly replace you? And not everybody has that time. Like, just straight up, not everybody has the time. I'm 25 years old. I don't need a full 8 to 10 hours of sleep. I can function on 4 to 6 if like times like this where it's like, okay, there's an auction going on, I'm going to spend more time researching players and trying to make my team better. And not everybody has that. There's people with kids. Colts is a fucking truck driver. I have no idea how strenuous that is, but I can't imagine that's super easy. Like, there's just so many, like, there's no way you get 32 teams of little fucking crackheads like me who can spend hours on hours researching players in a made up football game.
Right.
But that's
fucking crackheads. If only we could name our teams in this league.
I've got some good team names out there, just for the record.
All right, so it looks like since we've been on the pod, we've had 3 nominations reset. Matt Barkley, which is a testament to you can nominate somebody and you aren't necessarily going to win them. Emmanuel Sanders getting reset and is at 12.6 right now, and Alex Singleton at just over 12.
I think it's very
minutes ago.
Sanders seems to be getting that late signing bump. And I think people are underestimating the fact that he's 35 years old and is probably the number 4, not the number 2.
I don't think he's the number 4 there.
You think
if they bring in a good tight end, he could fall down. I think realistically he comes in and he shares snaps with Beasley. I don't think Beasley loses a whole lot of snaps, but like we as Niner fans, we saw Emmanuel Sanders 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. He's still really good. He's not going to get that volume, but he is going to come in and eat some yardage. I don't think in like a full restart of this league, he's not 12.6 million, but I don't think 12.6 million for Sanders is like horrible given the wide receivers that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, probably not. I think people are just a little bit overreacting to this being a bad thing for Gabe Davis, and I don't think it has anything to do with. I don't think they touch each other like as much as people think they do.
So here's what I'm thinking. Looking at the contracts, so Sanders signed a 1 year, $6 million contract with the Bills.
Yeah.
Cole Beasley is a $7 million contract that they can get out of for $3 million.
But he is like amazing. He's amazing at what he does.
He is.
Again, it's so if I'm lining, so it's almost, and again, I traded Gabe Davis, so this is almost hearsay for me to say. If I'm thinking I need to develop Gabe Davis and I want to eventually move him to the slot, having a guy like Emmanuel Sanders who I can line up on the outside and be the number 2 to Dick's number 1 and let Gabe Davis just eat on the inside, whether it's kind of in the 3 role, the 4 role, or still line up on the outside every once in a while. Like, I get to move Gabe Davis around the formation wherever the fuck I want to put him, and due to his body type, I either get to line him up against a 5'7" corner who's lining up on the inside, or a outside corner who can handle him on jump ball. Like, that's not a bad situation to be in. And having the person kind of have a competent veteran to fill in the other spots, like,
it's
not
a
bad.
great learning opportunity because who's the other like crazy tall receiver they drafted last year? Hodgins? Like didn't they take like a 6'5" wide receiver along with Davis?
Let me double check. I don't know.
Okay. No, the reason I bring it up is because like they have a young wide receiving core outside of Diggs.
They have Hodgins, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that the more vets you can bring in for whenever Sanders is done, whenever Cole Beasley is done, they have to have some options and answers. And if they're really going to try and put Gabe Davis in the slot, they need to figure out one of these other guys that they have as the outside option. And
Matt knows this very well. When Sanders got acquired by San Francisco, he immediately became the leader of that wide receiver core, mentoring them, helping them grow, and was a huge driver in Deebo Samuel's leap in his rookie year. So if I've got a bunch of young receivers and a guy like Stephon Diggs who, I don't know what's going through his head, $6 million to kind of make sure everyone goes on that right path, plus having a guy who can just play 40% of my snaps on the outside, that's worth $6 million to me, especially if I'm a contending team.
Especially because the issue with Sanders last year wasn't that he was bad or lost a step or something. He didn't fit the type of receiver that Drew Brees was going to be hitting. And Taysom Hill doesn't throw the deep ball well either. Like he's not a guy that's just like bursting past cornerbacks to get open. He's a guy that's shifting past them and just like getting open enough to where like you can hit him on a deep ball and he's going to get a big play, which is something that Josh Allen with that fucking cannon of an arm he has can easily hit. And it's just like he's a much better fit in that Bills offense than he was in New Orleans, to where I think like even if he's just playing 40% of snaps and that's split between the slot and outside to get Davis in the slot instead of Beasley, like I still think he's going to get a reasonable amount of just yardage based off of deep shots. He's not going to get a whole ton of targets and a whole ton of receptions, but he'll burst some plays off for him easily.
You consider him more of like a between the 20s guy with the Bills?
If I put Sanders at 35 catches, 600 yards, and 3 touchdowns, would you take the over or the under?
I would take the over on catches, and I was thinking 600 yards. I'd probably push on that one. But the touchdowns are iffy. Like that's the hard one.
I think I'd take the over on the receptions pretty easily, just because I think he does split evenly between the slot and outside. But then it's a matter of like the depth, like how many of those plays that he breaks over top are just going to go for 50, 60 yards.
Yeah.
I think 600's probably low. But I also think a lot of his receptions on the like out of the slot aren't going to go a whole long ways.
Yeah, he might have like 5 touchdowns max.
Hey, but still, I mean, that's still probably wide receiver 3 in our league. All right, do you want to talk about the division, or should we kind of call it what it is?
I think we could leave a division for another podcast
Mhm.
because I'm sure we'll have several of these throughout the throughout free agency.
I'm okay with that, and considering the amount of time we spent on some of these free agents and everything to come in the next couple of weeks, that makes sense to me. So we're about an hour, but thanks everyone for joining. Hopefully this was enjoyable, informative, something to yell about, whatever kind of makes you happy at this point. Bill, really appreciate you jumping on here. Any closing thoughts?
I mean, I'm pretty curious about how this is going to play out. Like I said, this is my first year. I'm ready to see it, but this is some bullshit that people are holding off on nominations.
Yeah, fuck you, Eric. Fucking nominate somebody, you fucker. Like literally, just nominate anyone. Nominate a fucking kicker.
All right.
Anybody.
Seriously, bring this energy at the guy in your division who is not doing it. Fucking
He's
him
not
this
saying
week.
anything.
Yeah, he's not talking anything.
Like if
Exactly.
Chiefs comes
They're
in and
hiding.
says like I don't want to nominate somebody, I'll give the fucking same energy to him.
Exactly.
But, like,
Eric is at least coming out and saying, "Yes, I'm aware, and I have it nominated." Like these guys are clearly aware. They've been on the site. They've been getting emails. And it said nothing. So bring this energy to Jacksonville. Bring this energy to Kansas City, and spam the fuck out of them.
Nominate somebody, you little shits. Just fucking nominate kickers. Punters.
Hey, Arthur has the right
Doesn't
idea.
matter.
Spam, 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 spam.
Just fucking throw something out there. Actively throw out something out there you think is valuable that you don't want. That takes money out of the pool from other people. It increases your chances of getting your guy that you're going to hold off on for 4 fucking rounds because you're thinking, oh, I've got some guy that I want. I'm going to hold off on him long enough to where all of the money that is in the $2 billion or whatever the fuck we have available is gone. It's not going to be gone, but you can actively try and remove it from the pool by nominating good players that are obviously going to go for a lot if you look at the free agency right now. If you don't want to nominate somebody right now and you want to wait, just nominate somebody good that you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? If you have a bunch of guys that you want, they're going to be gone and you're not going to win all of them. So pick whichever one you like the least. If there's like all of these good players you want, nominate them, get them gone for a lot of fucking money, and then maybe you'll be able to get 2 of your guys later instead of just 1 of them. When all of the money is still sitting there because we're only doing 29 noms because you guys are sitting there thinking, I have a master plan to get this linebacker 47 in the current free agent that I think is going to pop off. And if I just hold on forever on nominating him, I'll be able to snatch him up for pennies. That's not going to happen. It never happens.
It never
Look, I'm sorry, Eric. You're not going to be able to bring Andy Dalton back. Anyways, thanks to you both for joining. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As usual, we'll do the after show as we're just kind of shooting the shit on things. If you want to jump on that and kind of talk, by all means, just shoot me a message. But otherwise, have a good evening, and we'll talk to you guys later.